On today's Minute of the Apes, goodbye, Marky Post. Gone too soon.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Divine bomb. The only good human is a dead human! Where there is fire, there is smoke.
The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes. The minute of the apes.
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, the daily podcast. We break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes movies, 1 minute at a time, and we wake up to the news, the sad news that someone from, not maybe, is it our childhood? Was that when Night Court was on?
Teenage?
Probably.
child,
Early
around then?
teens and whatnot. But Marky Post passed away this morning, so I hit the boys with that right away, and it's that nice somber note when we start off a week that unfortunately somebody dies a little bit earlier than you would hope, only 70 years old.
Yeah.
And Richard had the same reaction I did, which was to figure out, holy shit, that's only so many years for me from now. And it's
How many
Yeah.
more summers I've got kind of thing. Like,
no,
whoa,
thank
wow.
you. The powers that be that determine when I leave this plane, please give me a little bit more time than that.
Yeah.
How are you boys this morning? It's Monday. Oh, wait, Richard
I'm barely awake, guys. This is...
It was a long night last night.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you boys drink last night?
I
Oh,
did.
we ate as well.
We had food.
There was food involved.
I did the same, but I don't think I'm in the place as you. So
I'm not really hungover. I'm just tired. You know what I mean? Like that you're not in pain. You just like,
Right.
I could go back to bed and just lounge for like a few hours. That's
Right.
kind of where I'm at
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
I could do that to you.
I had 5 beers, and it was, to me, that was that perfect thing that I came home. So we're having a party for Abby today with my parents, and I had to make a little bit of a tomato mix with balsamic so they can put on bruschetta and all that. Literally the last things that I did, I was like, okay, got to go. And then I cut my finger. I thought, that's time. Whenever there's too much beer, you know you need to go lay down. And I passed out. That was the extent of my drunk. So
Once blood is drawn,
that's right.
time.
You know, it's like, fuck. Anyway, so let's try and get into some apes.
All right.
Maybe we'll help Richard wake up.
Talk about some explosions.
Sean, tell us
right.
what's going on with minute 71.
We start minute 71 with mutants blowing up another tree and ends with apes on the retreat.
All right. Apes on the retreat. So we had mutants on the march and
Marching
apes on the retreat.
I like it.
I like that too. Here it comes. Minute 71. Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Hurry! Hold back! Go back! Hold back! Go back to the village! Get away from the fire! Hold back! Hurry! Leave the barricade! Hold back! Hold back! Get back to the village!
As of minute 71, we have a rapidly dwindling village worth of apes and humans, plus a shrinking ghost city worth of radioactive people, and no corny.
So for your visual recap, we get a lot of explosions in the trees behind. We have apes retreating. We have mutants marching. We have tons of smoke. And I can't really see anything other than that visually that stands out in this minute, because it's an odd little minute that we get into a retreat. And I guess maybe my Star Warsdom goes back to Empire Strikes Back when they start screaming fall back on Hoth, you know, and you get that sorrowful ba-da kind of music swelling in. There's nothing here, and there's almost no emotion to
yeah.
this. And I find, you know, I would love to have somebody on here that truly understands scoring of films. But I know one thing that John Williams talks about all the time is how powerful it can be not to score a moment. But this has had almost no music for a long time, and it seems an odd thing not to telegraph what we should be feeling here, because I don't feel anything.
Well, we're kind of just now starting the battle. So there wasn't like a lot of action leading up to this fallback moment. It was just kind of like, okay, we're confronting each other in the last minute with gunfire, and all of a sudden we're falling back. Like there's no sense of why. Other than the stuff is exploding around them. You know, the stuff in the trees, I kept meaning to kind of watch it over and over again. It reminds me that when they would do those repeating sequences, they spent some money on a particular shot.
And just use
in a
the same
sci-fi
shot
film.
over and over.
So I was wondering if the fire and the explosions was kind of just the same house again and again.
I did
from a
have
different angle.
that was one of my notes was like at the very end of that twisting falling tree felt like it was reuse of another shot from before. Yeah.
I thought the same thing of the treehouse. That I thought it felt like footage we've already seen. And what I was finding odd in this moment, to your point of that repeating boom, 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 is if you really stop down and look. Okay, so if I'm going back, you get the flash of the muzzle off of Culp's Jeep,
Right.
cannon, whatever.
You get that exploding same.
So you
house.
explode a treehouse, and then it exploded again, and then all of a sudden there's an explosion on the ground, and then it cuts back to another treehouse exploding, and then to the ground, and it is literally like the fast. Now, okay, fine, you got all the mortars and all these kind of things, but it really is this succession of boom, 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 boom. They're waylaying the city.
They are. So we complained about earlier in the shots when we wanted to see boots on the ground to kind of show a lot of people. This feels like there's actually a lot of mutants and a lot more apes that I didn't see before.
There is,
a lot more
especially
extras.
some of the wide shots. You'll see a big group. Like if you go to like 45 seconds in, you can see there's a lot.
Yeah, they brought all the extras for this particular moment between the two of them, and maybe the smoke screen is helping kind of mask the numbers. But this looks like a lot more than we saw tumble into the valley.
It helps the fact that you are not showing the mutants and the gorillas and the apes in the same shot. So the mutant army is also doubling as the ape army at the same time. So you bolster it, you put them in costumes, you make sure you never see an over the shoulder or the armies in the same deal, and you can double your ape.
Yeah, no, the thing, so there wasn't really much battle leading up to this moment. There really was just kind of like, okay, the mutants have gotten there and we've now taken over the barricade, and Caesar telling everybody to fall back. There's also no sense of leadership on the ape side. It was just kind of flat. I don't have a sense of them being an army or them being
we don't know
coordinated
because the leader of the army is not there. General Aldo has not shown up for this battle yet.
I would like to see, though, in this moment, and I want to call it, since we talked about shots, the shot at about 20 seconds when Caesar starts saying fall back.
I was going to say something about 20 seconds, too. Did you notice one ape is still bringing a little bucket forward with him?
I did, but what stands out to me is that I love is they use an incredibly long lens, so the background is very blurred out.
Yeah.
It's very soft, and it almost gives that feeling of the immersion in the battle with the smoke and whatnot, and I love that shot. But what I would have loved to have seen of Caesar is the passion of not wanting to fall back, and maybe Virgil being, we have to fall back. That kind of
grabbing him
until he finally said fall back. That little flip of that.
He looks on the battlefield and sees all the dead soldiers out there and goes, "Oh shit!"
We know Culp has a captain that's giving directions to his mutant army because they've set all that stuff up, and here we've just got the two apes we know, Caesar and Virgil, and then a crew of extras. They haven't really set up anybody else other than Aldo as the three kind of like lead apes. So there's nobody to kind of volley back and forth unless it's Virgil and Caesar, and the humans are locked away. It's just kind of feels directionless, other than Caesar just telling everybody to fall back, get away from the fire, leave the barricade, go back to the village.
It might have been nice. What if Virgil, in the what if category, what if Virgil had gotten shot but not killed?
Winged. Yeah.
Something that made him realize the jeopardy of which they're in, that they cannot defend their position. Something like that could have helped.
Again, it also would have helped if we had a sense of scale. We don't know how close the mutants are to them at this point.
We just know they're getting closer.
Yeah.
We keep seeing it. Even though, once again, we get a lot of that crossing the line kind of thing where they're moving one way and moving the other, and the camera kind of tells us whatnot. But
I mean, 10-year-old me is excited by the fact that apes have guns and they're fighting humans, and there's kind of this giant fight scene going on, even if it's not well choreographed. We're so used to really choreographed fight scenes now that this is a little underwhelming, and then they're just like, we're just going to shoot some people.
Maybe that's it.
Take some shots of people just firing guns.
Maybe that's we have too many years of watching this stuff and seeing how beautifully orchestrated it can be, and when you see something that's just sort of average,
Yeah.
it really lands flat.
You think about the battle sequences in Game of Thrones, and there's always
Right.
this kind of a dance to the way that it works.
Right.
And this is just kind of flat. Again, to your point, no music, just kind
Right.
of flat. We just see scenes of people firing and falling back and
Right.
advancing, but not really any coordination or music to kind of put it together, seam it together, or leadership.
It's the weird thing about music that it does tell you so much of what you're expected to feel at that moment if it's executed beautifully. You know, you go back to the original film when they were walking through the desert, before they ever saw
the
a
first
gorilla.
30 minutes?
Yeah, where it's just, you know, that very percussive kind of thing where immediately it tells us, hey, you're in a place that is foreign, but also a little bit primal. You knew that, and it's telling you these things. Something here to show me the jeopardy or the loss or the fear or something would be great. But instead, we got a lot of smoke. Mm-hmm. We got a lot of explosions. A lot of explosions.
A lot of explosions, lots of the same, apparently the same house on fire.
Right.
It does look like a repeating. Like they shot it from a couple different angles.
Did they
blew
really
it up a
think
couple of
a wooden
times.
barricade was going to stop a potential army?
Well,
I mean,
with baskets and
yeah,
netting and every little thing they were going to throw towards it.
and little hay and stuff.
Well, they don't know what the mutant army looks like. I mean, we do. I mean, it's a convoy, a
Well,
jeep,
you know,
2 motorcycles, and a school bus. It doesn't really seem that intimidating.
They knew that the mutants at least had guns because they were being chased. So they knew at least guns were coming at them.
Yeah, and the apes have a lot of guns. Can we just mention their army? Their armory is stocked.
Yeah.
Would it have been interesting if instead of building a barricade, had they already had a gate that surrounded the city and they were then adding to it or something?
Yeah.
So at least the suspicion of, look, we have to be smart, and then they could have philosophical discussions about the message. We're preaching peace, but we're showing fear. Whatever. It just, again, to your point, I mean, it's like, this is the shittiest of barricades. I mean, it is shitty. And a lone Culp's Jeep could probably drive through it without blowing anything up.
Without the cannon on it, he could have goosed it and just gone right through it. The cannon's going to slow him down a little bit.
I would like to see the mutants overthrow Culp and maybe strap him to the front of the Jeep and use him as a battering ram going into it. Is that wrong of me?
No.
All right. Does anybody have anything else? It's a quick minute.
It is. I mean, there's not really. It's a lot of shooting and smoke.
Shooting and running and yeah.
And it is, to your point, a lot of shooting, a lot of explosions. When you break something down 1 minute at a time, if there's not anything more than that, that's really a hard minute to even find notes on. So we'll call this one done. We'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully, does anybody hope that maybe there's a little more than shooting and smoke and explosions?
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow, minute 72, ready and willing to be entertaining you and breaking down these minutes. So for Richard and Sean, I'm Todd. Everybody have a great day.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
The